Just to talk to you now about feet, and I don't mean the ones on the end of your legs. When we were looking at the 2020 extrusion, I mentioned about tapping the holes on either end. I've ordered some feet and they've come in, and these are the ones I was originally going to use on the bottom. Now, you have to decide, like I've said before, where the electrics are, and that determines a lot once you finish certain parts of the mechanical assembly. I thought the electrics up the top was a good idea, but then you start to see how many wires you have to have running up. Then you have to run the power supply up to the top, and then run the power cables to the bed through all the tubing and all that. So if you sort of do a wire count, it's probably easier, especially if you look at the high current carrying wires. It's probably easier having the electrics on the bottom. The power supply is a large one and it is awkward to fit, and it's uncovered. So I've decided to put the electrics on the bottom, including the power supply. So that meant changing the feet design. But a cheap alternative is to just get yourself some coach bolts. They're the ones with the dome and the square section. They're used in fences for gates and all that sort of thing. Pull through the wood and bottom. So, and you just put a nut. So on the bottom, I've just put the bolts on there. But up the top, I've put these feet for the moment. Now, the reason being is that as you're assembling, sometimes you need to turn it upside down. And these cables would be squashed by the frame and that sort of thing. So, because I'm putting the power supply up the top, I can turn over and work, and the cables and the tubes and all that are not being squashed. So they're only about $1.50 or so a set for these, sitting on the bottom. So as you're working away, you can put them on and you won't be squashing cables. Easy to turn around when you're working. You can work on this side of the effector and all that, and also on the top part of the power supply and all that. Now the power supply, let's get this where we can see it. It's easy to mount. If it's got two holes in there that you can just put your screw and your tube extrusion screws. But I've modified mine and I've milled a hole in there because it's an angle, and just drilled a hole 3 mils. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Now the clearance is probably about 4 or 5 mil. I've fabricated a metal cover for the open wires. But what is important with the power supply is to lock your cable in position. All what holds the power are these terminals. So if you just have it sitting there and you knock the cord, you can pull one out and put live power to everything. So get yourself a decent cord clamp. You can pull apart your old computer, your old power supply, your old VCR, CD deck, anything like that, and you'll find one inside that you can use. This again is just clamped to one of the nuts. Secure, the cover goes on there. Then to run the power cables to the electrics, it then just comes through that slot in there. Quite secure, quite sturdy, allows airflow to go through. Also, by the time you've assembled this, mark where you're going to have your X, Y and Z towers. X is on the left, X is on the left, Y is on the right and Z is at the back. So you mark that. I've marked the motors with an engraving pen. I've marked the brackets with texture colour. So as now I know wiring and all that's going to be which motors are what. These are your ramps boards and your Arduino Mega board. Inspect them and make sure all mine were squashed over. These were squashing each other, and if you can pick it up, there is one bent pin. If I try to straighten it and it snaps off, they'll have to supply a new board. So check the solder with an eyeglass, something like that, just get a magnifying glass and have a look around. No dry or cracked. Make sure all your pins are straight. There's nothing broken. Then it's just a matter of aligning the pins up. An easy way is to just put in one corner first and slowly just start to tilt it, and then you can push it in straight. So make sure it sits in flat. This one doesn't. If you can see in there, pins, the bottom of these pins are hitting the top of the power inlet. I'll have to follow that one down so as it will then sit flush. As you can see here, see the brass is sitting proud. So all these little checks you have to do to make sure you're getting a quality product that will do the job for a long time.